Mandated reporting. Who is a mandated reporter? A mandated reporter is someone who is legally required to report suspected cases of abuse or neglect, typically involving children, the elderly, or vulnerable adults, to the appropriate authorities. Mandated reporters often include social workers, teachers and school staff, healthcare professionals, mental health professionals, law enforcement officers, clergy members, and child care providers. The law requirements if abuse is suspected. According to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, mandated reporters must immediately report suspected abuse or neglect orally by phone to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services or via their online system. They must also file a written report within 72 hours using Form DHS 3200 or submit it through the same online system. I have attached the form if you guys wanted to take a look at it. What info should be included in the report? The child's name and address, the suspected abuse, neglect situation, information about the child's guardians or parents, or any other relevant information. Recognizing abuse and neglect. Unfortunately, there are quite a few forms of abuse, but the main ones are physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. I'm going to kind of touch base on what each of these include. Physical abuse is intentional use of physical force that causes injury or harm. Emotional abuse is verbal or psychological maltreatment that harms a child's self-worth or emotional well-being. Sexual abuse is any sexual act between an adult and a child, including touching, exploitation, or exposure to sexual content. Neglect is failure to meet a child's basic physical, emotional, educational, or medical needs. Unfortunately, there are quite a few red flags to watch out for, but I'm going to cover the main ones that teachers should notice. Some red flags to watch out for are frequent unexplained injuries such as bruises, burns, or cuts, or a child who is reluctant to explain how they got hurt. Extreme behaviors such as aggression, withdrawal, fearfulness, or sudden changes in academic performances. Consistently dirty appearance, inappropriate clothing for the weather or clothing that does not fit, or signs of chronic hunger or fatigue. How to report. In order to report, you must make an immediate verbal report. You must call the Michigan Child Protection Hotline, and that number is 1-855-444-3911. This hotline is available 24/7. You must do this as soon as possible after suspecting abuse or neglect. You then must submit a written report within 72 hours and complete the Form DHS 3200. You can submit this form online by fax or mail to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. This is very important. Please remember that telling a supervisor or school principal does not fulfill your legal duty. You must personally report to Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Legal protections and consequences of mandated reporters. So some of the legal protections that mandated reporters have are good faith reporting and confidentiality. Good faith reporting is if you report suspected abuse or neglect in good faith. For example, you just have an honest concern, and even if that suspicion turns out to be unfounded, you are protected by law from civil lawsuits, criminal charges, and workplace retaliation. Your identity as a reporter is kept confidential and can only be disclosed in very limited circumstances, such as a court order. There are two types of consequences that you could have by failing to report, and that is professional consequences and legal penalties. The legal penalty, if a mandated reporter knowingly fails to report suspected abuse or neglect, it is a misdemeanor crime and is punishable by up to 93 days in jail and/or a fine of up to $500. The professional consequences that you may face is disciplinary action from your licensing board or employer. It can also result in the loss of professional credentials or employment. Why it matters. Mandated reporting is a vital part of protecting children and supporting their healthy development. When professionals speak up about suspected abuse or neglect, they help break cycles of harm and open the door to safety, healing, and long-term well-being. This aligns with the grand challenge for social work to ensure healthy development for all youth by creating environments where every child has the chance to show up safe, supported, and thriving. By reporting concerns, you are helping build a stronger, more compassionate future for the next generation. And here are my references. Thank you so much.